We're making comfort food today, Salisbury meatballs and mashed potatoes. I will post a recipe card towards the end of this video. It'll also be listed in the description box below. I feel like the potatoes will take the longest to cook, so we're gonna start with those. Pick whichever potato is your favorite. Russet or yukon are good choices. You don't have to peel them if you don't want to, personal choice, but we are gonna cube them up. The smaller you cube them, the less time they'll take to cook. Depending on the size of your potatoes, you'll want roughly 2 large potatoes per person. Once they're all cubed, toss them into a pot, cover them with water, and set them on the stove to cook on high until they're fork tender. While that's cooking, let's make the meatballs. We need half a white onion diced up. The smaller the better. Actually, the recipe says to grate your onion. I don't have time for that nonsense. This will be fine. Toss that into a bowl. Next, we need 1 garlic, finely chopped. Garlic is my BFF, so I think we need 2 here. A 1/4 cup of breadcrumbs, 1 teaspoon of black pepper, half a teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of Worcestershire sauce, 1 tablespoon of ketchup, and 1 pound of ground beef. Grab a fork and mix everything together. Normally I use my hands, but for the sake of not grossing out my viewers, I'll use a fork instead. Even though I feel like this takes twice as long. Grab a scooper or use your best judgment if you don't have one. We're aiming for about a tablespoon's worth per ball. Something like this. How's that look? Pretty good? It's time to cook our meatballs. To a pan over medium-high heat, we're gonna add in 2 tablespoons or so of olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter. Add in your meatballs and leave them alone for about a minute or so, and then start rotating them around so they get a little color on all sides. The whole process should take about 5 to 10 minutes depending on the size of your meatball. This is just the first batch of meatballs. I didn't want to overcrowd the pan. I do have a second batch I'm gonna do off camera. Once they're done cooking, pull them out and discard the oil. Next, we're making the sauce. We're gonna slice up 1 whole onion into rings. To a pan on medium-high heat, we need 2 tablespoons of butter. Add in the onions we just sliced. We're gonna let this cook until they're translucent, and while that's on the stove, let's dice up some garlic. We need 1 garlic clove chopped. Add that in with the onions and 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. We're gonna mix in the flour and let it cook for about a minute or 2. Next goes in 2 cups of beef stock. Carefully mix that in, followed by 1 tablespoon of ketchup, 1 tablespoon of barbecue sauce. I'm using Sweet Baby Ray's, 1 teaspoon of smoked paprika, a dash of salt, and a dash of black pepper. Lastly, add in those meatballs, drop the heat, and let everything simmer for about 5 minutes. By now, the potatoes should be fork tender. Drain your potatoes and start mashing. Everyone has their own way of making their favorite mashed potatoes. For mine, I always add in butter, black pepper, salt, sometimes garlic salt instead, but today I'm sticking with regular salt, milk, and a tablespoon of cream cheese. The measurements for all of these will depend on how many potatoes you're working with. Just add in a little at a time until you get the consistency you like. You can always add in more milk if it's not quite creamy enough. Grab a bowl, add on a nice thick layer of your mashed potatoes, and top them off with your meatballs and sauce. There you have it, total comfort food, which is perfect because it's raining cats and dogs today. Here's that ingredients list I promised you. Let me know in the comments what you think. Would you eat this? What's your favorite comfort food? Loaded baked potato soup is one of my all-time favorites. We're gonna have to make that together one of these days and soon. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out, and I'll see you all in the next video.